Well, g'day guys, it's Nishless, and I guess we're going to call it The Dump. Welcome to The Dump, and we're going to talk about a problem that's popped up very recently, and joining me today, I have Lit. What's going on, Lit?
Going on, Nish.
Not a lot, man, not a lot.
True.
You brought it to us, to our attention in the Discord, and fuck, let's chat about that. Also, joining me is Flass. What's going on, Flass?
How you do?
Good, man. Good. You ready to dump on something?
Oh, yeah.
It comes to time.
All right. So what we're going to talk about is... also, do you like the view, everyone? We're just chilling in a bit of Fallout 76. But yeah, what do you guys think? So Lit brought it to our attention last night. Helldivers 2. Do you guys have it?
I was going to get it, and pretty much days out from buying it, this happens. So Arrowhead completely shit the bed. And decided to hide in their Euler agreement, which nobody reads, let's face it.
Yeah.
That they were going to basically require a PSN account to hook up to Helldivers, but effectively. So just for clarification, I messed up in what I was saying here. It was actually the inverse. It was not baked into their Euler agreement, but apparently they announced it back when it first started, and that you did require a PSN account, but because of technical issues, had to make it optional because the system effectively crashed. Since then, Sony has changed their FAQ regarding Helldivers 2, and it seems a little shady the way that they actually changed it, because in the first instance they said that it was optional, and then now with the recent changes they've actually said that it was a requirement all along. One crazy thing about the Euler agreement, though, is that it actually states, quote, "You are bound by this agreement's most current version. SIE may modify this agreement's terms at any time. Please check this URL from time to time for changes to this agreement. Your continued access to or use of the software will signify your acceptance of the latest version of this agreement." End quote. And that speaks a lot about Euler agreements. But that's a discussion for another time, I guess. Anyways, back to the dump.
When that's the only outlet people have got, people will go very hard on it. I'm sure there's a couple of brand new, fresh Steam accounts that just showed up to negative bomb that thing.
I can almost guarantee it, right?
Just about.
I'd like to say this is a shocking development, but I'm torn between saying this is exactly what one should expect, and wow, Sony's really outdone themselves this time. That they were at the cutting edge of technology. Now they're just at the cutting edge of being really malicious as a corporation. This is the entity that doesn't like to play fair. Everyone else is able to cross-platform. That's totally cool. We'll organize things backwards and forwards between us. Everyone will make more money. Extra cool. Sony, no, we need our exclusives. Blah, blah, blah. We only have $1 trillion or whatever it is. If we play nice with anyone else, you might get a slightly larger market share than us or from us.
I was gonna say, do you think it's a play that like they've deliberately done this, right? Because Sony's offered them something?
I think Sony was always their publisher. I'm pretty sure it's their publisher. I think that they wanted to capitalize on PC users.
Yeah.
And basically use PC users to try and what's the word?
Incentivize or
no, not an incentive at all. They've basically trying to grab all those numbers that you would normally get on Steam and try and put them on the PSN so they look good.
Yeah. Oh, so like I see what you mean. So like it's really it's for an Excel spreadsheet somewhere to say, hey, we've picked up this many users.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks good for shareholders, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I think is going on. Yeah.
It does
Yeah.
make a lot
Fuck.
of sense.
Yeah. I guess Arrowhead dropped the ball on that front.
Yeah, it just makes me wonder how much Arrowhead actually had involvement in it. Like, they. I'm pretty sure Sony's been a part of it all along, but the real dirty thing is that they said that, like, Sony really had no involvement in, like, the. I guess they were really careful about the wording that they said. They had no, like, hand in the development, but that's not to do with the corporate decision making, you know?
Yeah. And then what was it? It's just come out this morning that like Arrowhead CEO Johan Pilstead? Yeah, he apologized to disgruntled Helldivers 2 fans. Like I bought it. I bought it for Kaz as well.
Yeah.
And I haven't played it yet, but now I probably won't ever play it.
Yeah. If I was you, Niche, like
Yeah.
only for the experience, because I'm almost certain that Helldivers will get together and have what Flash coined as the last dive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Everyone on Steam or PC that doesn't want to link their account will have a last dive. That's kind of cool.
yeah, I think it'll be a big thing. And if they had like, Battlefield open world numbers like 100, what is that, 132, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
They would.
Well, I was going to say on the Steam overnight, it received 14,000 negative reviews.
Yeah, it went from mostly positive to mixed in a matter of 12-ish hours. Yeah, it was so fast.
This
Wow.
to me is kind of it's an indication of maybe I'm being too optimistic here. I'll preface this. It seems to me like an indication that the greater gaming community is kind of getting sick of their shit. Not Sony shit specifically, but all AAA production and game development houses.
Oh yeah.
Because we all grew up getting a copy of a game on a CD, and that's it. You own it. In fact,
Yeah,
if
you
you were
had it.
smart, you could have multiple copies of it if you were, if you were one of those kids in the 90s who had a CD burner. But
You actually
now,
reminded me of something, Flash. It reminds me of an argument that I had back in the day with a friend of mine when everything was going digital. I was like, this seems shady to me. Like, we don't actually own our games anymore. Like, that disc
Yeah.
was like ownership, you know? You had an object that you could fucking, just...
yeah, you were spot on in that case. Because they even, like, once this snowball started rolling, they were still selling CD cases and in some cases CDs that still required the same. Or the software isn't actually in there. You have to get connect to the internet and sign up for this and that and the other, and read 500 pages of a EULA agreement that you're definitely not going to, and then you can have your game. We've got to a point now where people are remembering that from 20 years ago and then looking at this Helldivers issue and going, "Don't I own it? Didn't I give you $50 and that's like a purchase? It's not a subscription. It's not like I've stopped paying you and now I have to stop playing. I own the damn thing. It's mine now." Or is it not? Like, and every step further down this road of, oh yeah, you don't really own it. You can just pay by the hour of play or whatever it is that they're pushing for in the near future. The more pissed off people are
don't
getting.
even say that. Yeah.
I'm hoping that this is going to catalyze something of like a second great gaming industry crash, where all of this half-built, buggy trash that we're expected to pay for full price and then maybe pay a subscription for, but still not really own, and then get bombarded with microtransactions and bullshit as well, that's pushing a lot of gamers over the edge. I know a lot of people that don't check Steam releases or anything like that. They don't look at the game community anymore. They've worked out the games that they prefer to play, and they understand that they're bored by them because they've been playing them for decades, but they don't care anymore. They know that everything they could go and try and find out in the Steam library or anything that's registered as like a high value title is going to be full of bugs. It's going to be trying to squeeze more money out of you at every turn, to the point where everything's starting to feel a little bit like a mobile game. This is the reason why I quit EVE Online, is that it went from here you go, asshole. Here's the world. Go play. We don't care what you do as long as you're not duping or cheating. If you want to be the worst person on the planet or the most eccentric person on the planet and play that way, cool, go for it. Now it's all,
Yeah.
here's some free experience, and if you log in every day, blah, 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 blah. No one cares about that shit. No one wants to be Skinner boxed. We're here to have an experience.
Keep
And
talking,
Yeah.
Flash.
We're
Just
now
on
at a
that.
stage where, because of Wikipedia and all that sort of stuff, everybody knows what a fucking Skinner box is. There's no one that's ignorant to the idea that they're being manipulated into a dopamine loop anymore. And we're comfortable with that. Just give us something that's actually genuinely entertaining instead of, you know, an actual Skinner box that's just clearly a Skinner box.
Yeah. Yeah, which makes sense. Hold on. We've woken up the locals.
Where are they?
I think they're underneath.
Yeah.
But there's a
we've
guy.
got a friend. Yeah.
Go and ask him if he wants to check in on the topic.
Yeah. I don't know how to use the push to talk.
Thanks, Terudo.
Oh,
Oh,
bit of musical chairs.
so yeah, I think it speaks to a bigger thing that's been happening a lot lately in the industry, especially because the indie games have been getting their rise.
Yeah.
I think, like, to agree but also disagree with Flash is that I think there's a renaissance coming, and the renaissance is indie games.
I fully agree with
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of rubs it in the face of, like, triple game industry. Like, hey, this is
Yeah.
bad behavior. You can't just shit on people because you make a fancy looking game. Like, you need to actually provide a clean and distinct product. Like,
Yeah.
there's no point in, like, trying to pretend that, like, you're actually doing something for people when you're actually trying to rip them for every dollar that they've got. What was that? Was it Ubisoft's CEO basically came out and said that we should be paying, like,
Ye-
for our game experience? It was like, hold up, man. You're
Yeah, I
reaching
think it
into the
was.
imagination of, like, kids and stuff there. You shouldn't be doing this. This is supposed to be inspiring. It's literally in the title, video game. It's a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the thing. These companies, like particularly the AAA companies, they're all trying to make more money. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make more money, and there's less people in corporate and I guess senior management, the people that make the decisions for those companies, that are actually players of games.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's definitely a huge factor. The guys that are running and making the big overarching decisions for these major AAA production houses are not gamers.
Yeah.
That kind of leads me on to the second point I was about to bring up a moment ago, is that where the fuck is all their money going? They're working their devs and all these people, sort of like actual technical professionals involved in actually building the game, harder than they ever have before, to the point where they're going through the same labor crisis that like the anime production world is, where people are quitting en masse because they just can't handle the workload anymore. And they're also Skinner boxing and doing the daily rewards and freemium and this and that and the other. And they're trying to rort people through all this sort of stuff as well. Sign up for our extra service. Guess what? Now you have to pay for it. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's all the money going?
Well, that's the thing now. Like, bottom line, it's probably just to their shareholders. It's the whole corporate governance thing.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, into the biggest back pockets of all, which is, like, the most higher up of the company. Like, you only need to look at the situation that happened with Wizards of the Coast and D&D. That was a shit fight.
Yeah.
Like, they tried to pull the wind over the wool over people's eyes in D&D 1, I think they called it.
Yeah.
And they basically said that anybody who makes, like, over a certain amount of money has to pay an exorbitant percentage to their company. It's it's like us, right? We're playing Fallout 76, and you upload it to YouTube, and then one day Bethesda's like, "Hey, we see you're doing really well with our game. You want to pay us like
A cut.
20%,
Yeah.
like for playing our game and making money out of it." And it's like, hold up a sec, man.
Yeah. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
it just like it speaks to the it's greed. Like let's not fuck spiders. Like it is. It's greed.
It's greed on like a cultural level too. Like as you were talking about the D&D thing, the first thing that came to mind was Games Workshop's behavior regarding Warhammer. There was so much content being made around and derivative of the Warhammer universe, and it was helping Games Workshop move numbers. I don't know how many people I've spoken to that I make a Warhammer reference and they go, "Oh, I know what you're talking about. I saw that on Emperor Gets a Text-to-Speech Device." Those guys
Yeah.
are dragging people into the community by bringing it up in an accessible and humorous way where you ended up learning a whole bunch about the lore and ending up fascinated by it and go, "Oh, I want to get into this now. I'll buy the games, I'll buy the minis, I'll buy the lore books, blah, 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 blah." Because there was people working for them for free, doing their own stuff. And then Games
Yeah.
Workshop was like, "No, you're too successful. You're bringing the wrong image. Blah, 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 blah. Shut it down. Anyone who's making anything to do with our IP is going to get sued."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone went, "Oh, okay." Brother Alvabusa and the rest of the gang from there, I think they cracked the shits immediately and went, "All right, well, we're taking everything down then. If you're going to play like this, then we're going to stop publicizing you." But I think then they went, "Oh, we actually kind of like doing this," and started posting it off of YouTube where Games Workshop had less power. But those are your only two options. Like, if you want to make content about something and some billion-dollar company comes after you over it, your only choice is to go to the same places where people are posting illegal content, basically. And that's not
Yeah.
on. How are you supposed to say, "Oh, come join my stream, I'm going to be playing this so-and-so game. It's on Live Leak." Nah.
Lively of all places. Yeah, right.
Yeah. But I get it, and it's like it's a matter of what, like, companies are reaching too far down into their own product.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And to the point where, like, they've got their hands so far up themselves, they're interfering with their own metabolism. If they would just leave the natural process alone, they would probably make more money. But they're so busy trying to drag the poo out of it that they're compromising the amount of profit that could be made for themselves.
Yeah, they really are.
It's a difference.
And
It's
the fact, like,
the greed version of the difference between efficiency and laziness.
yeah,
Like, they're not
and you
being
look,
efficient, they're fucking themselves because their griping isn't actually making them money at this stage, it's costing.
yeah, and you look at like, even like just the numbers alone, like 14,000 negative reviews in like a 12-hour period. That's insane.
You can see the graph right here. This is it's just stupendous. Stupidity is what it is. It's like, I don't know why they thought that this was going to be a good marketing. Like, I get I get corporate manipulation, but this is like literally poking you in the eye and say, "Look over here." Like, you're going to look at the motherfucker that just poked you in the eye. I don't care who you are, like, with the eye that you have left.
I very much get the vibe from this incident, the same vibe that I get from, like, the cable company from South Park, where Sony is so big and so powerful now, and they're making so much money that they just don't care how they come off. They're like, "Oh, well, what are you going to do about it? Go somewhere else." There is no one else, because we've set up all these exclusivity deals, and if you want to play the games that you've been waiting for, you have to deal with us.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, we don't, because there's a very small, very dedicated community of ad hoc, I hazard to call them professionals, but I will just for their own sake, that pull apart these people's games and rip out all their stupid DRM security software and republish them as what a video game is supposed to be. A nice condensed EXE that you can play even with no internet connection.
Not that we're condoning that.
at all.
I'm,
Don't do
I'm
that.
not I'm not condoning, and I'm not whatever the opposite of that is either. Where this is
Yeah,
just a natural knock-on effect. If you make it so the only way to do what you want to do the right way is to deal with people that you would never want to deal with,
Hmm.
you're
yeah,
now forced to explore other options. It's the same as the like,
yeah,
if I'm getting kicked off this platform for doing what I love, I have to go to the dodgy place to be able to post non-dodgy stuff.
Mm.
yeah,
Same deal. I don't want to steal from people, and no one else that's pirating games wants to steal from people. But
yeah. But if that's your
they're
only option,
if that's the only way to do it, they're
yeah. And you
manipulating
know
me
what people
based
are
on
like. They will do it.
exactly. They're
Yeah.
manipulating
Yeah,
players based on their interest in the game, and then putting a
yeah.
wall up to say, "Well, you can't do it unless you jump through this flaming hoop."
Mm.
And it all comes back down to, I think, what we were talking about before, ownership, because you pay for it, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
pay for the ownership of the game, and like it's not like when we had like the disc copies of everything. All the studio's responsibility is to update the game, and sure, they had microtransactions in it there for cosmetics and things like that, but that's all their responsibilities were. Now it's like they've got to reach that far in to be able to change the conditions. So I think Arrowhead really, I don't know, bunged it up on this one.
Big time.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know if it's just Arrowhead though. I think it's Sony.
It's a lot of companies, especially the big ones. Actually, to use like an example of the opposite, DE, Digital Extremes, right? They made
Yeah.
Warframe.
Mhm.
Warframe is like stupendously big. It's
Yeah.
loopy and it's grindy, sure, but their free to play model is second to none. I recommend anybody
Yeah.
look up like the way that DE functions with Warframe. If you're not going to get into the game, just check out like the way that their business functions. Literally, the game is free to play, and you can get 98% of the things that are in Warframe just by grinding. But the only thing that you don't get is like exclusive like cosmetics. That's it. And like people are
Yeah.
willing to pay the price tag that's on it and get those things if they want to. Like I literally spend, I think it's like $25 a year just to get the digital ticket for a thing called TennoCon, right?
Yeah.
And that gives me, I think it's nearly 400 platinum, which is the premium currency in Warframe. Now you might think premium currency, these guys are shirtless, but that's the thing. You can play the game normally and like earn parts that you can sell, parts and mods that you can get in game and sell them to people for platinum, and you can make your own platinum in game.
That's how it
And
should be, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
yeah, it's very organic.
You've really hit the nail on the head for, I guess, what's going to end up being our next topic here, which is the happy medium between the nonsense that we're dealing with and discussing today and the old model of getting a copy of Age of Empires in your cornflakes box. Is that
Yeah.
some games are built not around the client but around the server, which makes more sense to sell them as a subscription service. But
Yeah.
setting up it's free for you to play and you're not super hindered by it, but because of the massive multiplayer format, you existing in the world effectively makes you a part of the content system. So we're going to let you do that. And if you grind really hard, we'll allow you to buy a subscription using your effort instead of your money. This was the old model for EVE Online, and I really respected that. Where if you were
Yeah.
just a casual player, I used to fly with both sorts because I lived in Nullsec and we'd take anyone who could F1 something correctly. You'd get people like myself that were, I wake up, I have my coffee, I have a nice big poo, and I log on and I don't log off until it's time to go to bed. Those
Yeah.
people don't pay for the game because they're paying by being out in space and
On it.
risking assets and all that sort of
Yep.
stuff. I'm bait.
Yeah.
I'm content for PvPers at all that time that I'm trying to make money. Alternatively, I know people that were making like exorbitant amounts of real money and consequently had very little time, but loved EVE Online more than anything else. So they would pay for their subscription and then they would buy extra subscription tickets or pilot's license extensions and sell them on the market to people like me so they could not have to grind for hours and hours and just jump in the shiny thing and go kill things for an hour and go, right, I'm really tired now, I've got work tomorrow, I'm going to log off. It supported both of them wonderfully because it allowed the people that didn't have money but really were interested in the game to become an organic part of that content. It only works under that construct where they're still making their money. That they're going to make their money one way or the other because people are going to be drawn in by the fact that there's people like me floating around in carriers with one eye open going, I've been doing this for 6 hours. I'm totally zonked out. I'm probably not checking my surroundings as well as I'd like. So I'm now content.
And
while
it's
I'm
another
screaming
thing.
at Young Local.
It's another thing too. Is like pay to win. Like it's one thing to pay for cosmetics to have like the cool looking gear and everything, but it's another thing entirely to like pay for gear that nobody else has that gives you a leading edge on people. That's not cool. That's dirty practice as well. You should like in the whole Warframe example, cosmetics are what make the money for DE, and they're not slumping on cash. Let's face it, they're a multi-million-dollar, if not a billion-dollar company, and like it seems rat shit to me that you have to do these underhanded tactics to try and wring money like wring currency out of people.
Your player base.
Yeah. People are like water, right? Even though we're 70% water, we kind of flow like water as well. We're gonna find the path of least resistance and we're gonna take it, and like people who've got money, the path of least resistance is to buy the product. But when it comes to like organic things, the path of least resistance is not to buy things. It's to actually play the game, and like later on when you're like, I really feel like a shit person for not actually paying for this game. Let me throw $20 at it. Like or $50 or $300 if you're really feeling that generous. Like these organic growths actually do way more for the games, and they last longer as a result, especially if you listen to the community of the game. Like releasing a game and then like saying, well, there's your product, get used to it, is a shit thing to do as well. Like you shouldn't just like literally take a shit and expect people to fucking eat it up. It doesn't work like that. You got to produce some food. And actually, on the whole food analogy is like the whole thing with development. It's we're the meat and potatoes. Us, the players, we're the meat and potatoes. The corporate involvement and the shit. I don't mean to shit on developers here at all, but they're the spices. They're the flavorings. You know what I mean? If you don't bring the spices and a game can survive on meat potatoes. Let's face it. But if you're thinking that you can make a whole meal out of spices, you're just choking on fucking cinnamon at that stage. Like
poison people.
Yeah, exactly.
Never want to eat what you prepare again.
Yeah.
The counterexample is also true. Look at RuneScape, for instance. All they've done is collect their subscriptions and kept a viable free-to-play model since 20-something years ago. All they've done is listen to their player base and collect their money. And
there's still a heap of people playing RuneScape.
There are so many people playing 07 Scape, like 2007, before they did the Evolution of Combat update and changed it into discount World of Warcraft. The old version is actually carrying their business model, and they only booted it back up because their feed was their socials feed was getting lit up with people going, hey, we don't like this new model, we want the old one back. And I think it was some random member of staff was just going through an old server computer and went, we have a flash of the servers from right before it flicked over to the update. We could technically port this onto its own server and offer it as its own product. And they made so much money. Just the second that server went live, everyone went, hooray, okay, yes, here's another bond.
Back to it.
I'll pay for both. I don't mind. And go on, another 15 years past that, people jump up and down about it. People will defend the gaming community and the development studio. Jagex is backed up by the player base. Some of the senior moderators and that sort of stuff. What's his name? Mod Jev? One of those? Mod Ash.
Yep.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm thinking someone else. Mod Ash is a public persona. He like you can hit him up on Twitter from everything from, hey, I want your opinion on this potential feature I want to add to the game, all the way to, can you go through my logs because I think something's bugged out or lost or whatever, or sex mod when, and he'll reply to all of it. It'll be various levels of professional and facetious depending on what you've actually asked of him, but he's a normal human being that's tied to the internal power structure of Jagex. So there's no like ivory towerness where it's like, oh, I want to get hold of Sony corporate. Like, well, you can't because you're a regular jack-off. All you're going to get is an answering service or some smarmy receptionist lady that'll go, yes, I'll take the message and I'll pass it up to them. Never seen or heard from again.
Yeah.
I think that another thing too, like to add on to that point, is like AI responses, like automated messages. That is fucking dirty, man. I get it for like mass what's the word I'm looking for? FAQ.
Yeah.
I get it. But like, if there still should be a human being combing these things and like, hey, is there an idea in here? Like, this is it's a provision of jobs too. Like, this provides like income for people, and people who are probably good at it and are really good people to be good at it. Like, it's a big thing missing in corporate industry is just good people. It dehumanizes them. Like, corp literally means a dead fucking, a dead entity, and they're proving the point like regularly.
Yeah. I think it's quite convenient that we've brushed across this topic while perched up in this particular part of the map, because this whole town surrounds a storyline about how automation taking over internal powerful structures of like a control structure of a city ends up as an existential nightmare pretty quickly, because there's not enough humans involved to be able to look at stuff like nuance and whatever, and they go, well, you're rule breaker, dead, you're doing the right thing, control. It's the same deal here, where if you've got automated services and whatever handling stuff like suggestions and complaints and like, customer handling and whatever, you're not having these people involved that, sure, they cost money at first. A robot is cheap. Chat GPT-4 can probably handle way more phone calls or instant messages or whatever per hour than a human being can. But it can't extrapolate any sort of pattern or real qualitative information from that like a human being can. You look after one employee, like really look after them while they're doing this job, they're going to process 1/10 of the calls, but you're going to get twice as much information out of each one.
Quality versus quantity, yeah.
Exactly. You'll get shitloads of quantitative information out of a robot, but mainly that's just going to be everyone swearing at it because everybody fucking hates robots. Like, if you get a person extrapolating this, oh well, we had 15 people comment that this same bug exists and they can't boot their game today. That's something that, if a human being sees that, they're going to go, oh shit. Looking at this from a top-down standpoint, that's really bad for our business model. We don't want the servers to be down. We don't want there to be bugs. I'm personally going to go out of my way, out of my job description, to go and talk to someone that's actually capable and, the right person for this job, and say, hey, I've gotten 15 phone calls today. No one can log into the server in the UK. And they'll go, what? The automated system didn't tell us that. We thought everything was fine, and they can go and deal with it.
Yeah.
And it kind of... Sorry, Nish, you go.
It's just wild, because like AI, it's definitely being used. I was watching a Meat Canyon video, and they drove through the Maccas, and the little talker box that you speak to at McDonald's. It was all AI.
No.
Yeah, the AI thing took your order, and all you had to do was pay and drive up to the window.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, like it's a cost-effective way of taking somebody out of a job. That's essentially what it is.
And like, it'd be, if it was a utopian world, that'd be okay. in like
Yeah.
a lot of circumstances, but it's not. It's a world driven by money. It's a world driven by like greed of that money. So you can't really have those sorts of things and expect them to be good in the end, I really guess, because the only one it's good for is the corporation. Like
Yeah.
it's not good for the person. Like, to use the
Good.
the
It's
McDonald's.
good for the company and the shareholder.
Yeah, exactly. And like to use
Yeah.
the Macca's example, you not only are you dropping a person out of the job, like how long before the cooks are just robots? You know, like
Yeah, exactly. Like until it's on a production line,
yeah, and
and then you
they're
don't have
talking
to
about
pay anyone.
yeah, exactly, and so like they're picking efficiency over humanity, and
Yeah.
like there has to be a nice balance. There has to be a nice balance to everything, even the shit toxic things that happens in like games and the gaming industry. Like look at Rust. Holy Christ.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
God,
It's
don't talk about Rust.
it's but the thing is that people play it and they love playing
That
it
is true. Yeah.
because it has that atmosphere, you know, like, and that's kind of where you should be. I use a very controversial term here, to breed that kind of toxicity. The toxicity shouldn't be on like the development side of things. They should be listening
Yeah.
to people and allowing them to like create the game that they play as well. Like if you're going to give them freedom, fucking throw it at them. Like
That's probably the
Yeah.
closest the position that I would go for is like don't breed toxicity,
Mm-hmm.
but just set up the game that you wanted to get set up, and remember that you're a game dev and not a cultural or social engineer. You don't work for the Illuminati or the World Forum or whatever. It's outside of your job purview to dictate the behavior of people inside the game. If they're cheating or doing something that's objectively illegal, yes, step in and do something about it, because that might get you in trouble. But other than that, if everyone's a toxic shithead in your game, it's not like everyone's going to flee from it, because that's like a self-defeating prophecy there. There's a whole bunch
Yeah.
of people in your game being toxic shitheads. And because they're enjoying their time being toxic shitheads, they're going to tell other people that have been thrown out of these corporately sanitized gaming spaces for saying the wrong word or acting the wrong way or not being a paragonic enough of a character, and go, why don't you come join this game community? It's a bit of an odd game and whatever. It's not what you're used to. But they're not looking over your shoulder. Unless you're objectively cheating or fucking over the game in some way, you can do whatever you want. That's what's always
Yeah.
drawn me to games. You can do whatever you want. I don't want to find the walls technically. I don't want to find the walls in terms of service. I don't want to know where the walls are. I don't even like the fact that maps have edges. If I want to just piss off into the infinite, that's something I should be able to do. That was one that I really liked about, I think it was, I don't even know if that's the case anymore, but right back in the day of Arma 2 DayZ, the map
Yeah.
edge was just where the actual map ended. Like you don't have any record of anything outside of that space because there's nothing there. But you can just keep walking out if you want. You can set up your camp 5 kilometers off the map edge, but there's no map. So you better know where you've gone.
and
You'll learn how to navigate.
yeah,
EVE Online was another one of those where unless you were like IP tracing someone and then getting them swatted or sending a bunch of pizzas to their house or shutting down their modem using hacking or whatever, you could do whatever you want, including metagaming in EVE Online to win a fight. If you wanted to psycho fuck the enemy, you could do it. You wanted to have someone pretend to be someone else for 2 straight years to infiltrate an enemy gang, and then one day go, surprise, I actually work for your enemy, and I'm pressing the big red button that turns your entire alliance off.
and that's the thing too, to like speak on the other end of it too. Like you give enough freedom. Like I think it's Elite Dangerous. Elite. That's the game,
Elite
isn't it?
Dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember watching a video on that, and there's a whole entire division of people that they've made on their own who literally bring fuel to people who are stranded out in the middle of space. Holy shit, man. And they do it because they want to. That's their bread and butter when they come home, you know? Like they're working a shit fucking job, probably stuck in a cube all day, or, you know, dealing with really crappy people. And then they come home, they're like, I'm going to go out and like get fuel to people because they appreciate that shit. And like,
Yeah.
Best thing I could do with my afternoon is be rural space RAA.
yeah, exactly. Man. It's like the Elite Dangerous, there's pirates, there's heaps of factions that are really bad to run into, and then there's
Yeah.
really good. Like you got the, the righteous people who are like for the whatever UN of space is, and then
Yeah.
you've got these Joe Blows who are just like, oh, I'm going to bring you fuel, bro. You're stranded. You're all right. And they're like, oh, man, I'm going to die in an hour. And you're like, don't worry, I'll be there in 45.
I've seen some video content by these guys. It's not.
Yeah.
It seems like boring work, but it's not. They've turned it into something interesting, and the way that they explain it is like, this is the beauty of being a fuel runner. There's always a new challenge. You've got to actually get out there. Sometimes these people are a billion miles from anywhere. You've actually got to have fuel left when you get there, and not end up on the fuel rescue list yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
But like I've played Elite Dangerous, and it's like it's massive. It's a massive scale. But for like even to like let's say somebody goes out there only because I know the game. So somebody goes out to retrieve somebody in the middle of nowhere, right? Like that's hours of real life playing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it takes a lot of time.
Like holy. And I think it ties back to it. It's like at the end of the day, people just want to play a game and feel good about it.
That's really it. That's really it.
And these companies like Sony and this whole Helldivers thing, they've lost I would say they've lost close to probably, let's just ballpark it at the same review rate, 14,000 players that like have met people on there, have become friends, probably have mates that they play with on there.
Yeah, exactly.
They've now taken it off them. And sure, like I was going to say, sure, adding a PSN account to it probably isn't that, well, let's be honest, probably not that arduous. But at the same time, it's like, why is it another thing that you just need to add to something that you've already paid for?
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is I think they came out and said that it was because of security. They wanted it. But here's the thing. Sony, I don't know if it was last month or it's like an average, but I'm pretty sure it's an average, which makes it that much worse, that Sony gets hacked 77,000 times a month. A month.
Oh, Jesus.
And like, you're talking about security. Let's not play around here. It's not because of security. It's not because of anything like that. It's because Sony wanted to make an extra buck, and like they thought that they could like garner a big following by pulling the rug from out under people. Like who? What? I'd really like to see the like be the fly in the room in the corporate boardroom when like these guys are like, you know what? We should totally put this on Steam, and then months later, we'll just stick it in our EULA, because nobody reads the EULA, and then months later, we'll just like go, oh, that thing in the EULA, we're going to take that away now, because, this is what we told you we were going to do. And it's the mentality of the people doing this, like...
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a plan. That's the thing, though. It's a planned decision, which ties it back to the mentality of like, oh yeah, we're just gonna do this thing.
How do they spend so many millions of dollars in research, not only into the industry itself, but like the social element that surrounds it,
and the psychology,
and the psychology of it, and miss the mark by such a gigantic fucking margin? Did they shut their eyes before squeezing the trigger or something?
Oh,
or did they just
feels like
really hard because they're so desperate to get their shot off?
Yeah, and they flinched so hard that the bullet went into their foot, and they're wondering why the fuck they got a bullet in their foot now.
That's it.
Yeah,
I'm not studied like to the point of qualification in any of these subjects, but I can tell you right now 2 sentences that would rescue that whole arrangement.
Yeah,
single player games are a dopamine experience. Multiplayer online games are a serotonin experience. They're built
Mm.
around the social aspect. You're getting your good feely wheelies by having some rando roll up halfway through our interview and knock off a couple of scorch for us, give us the thumbs up, and walk off into the sunset. That's what this
Yeah.
game is about. Nobody gives a shit about levels and loot and blah, blah, blah. That's just a way to fill time between the social interactions.
Mm.
But they're still trying to treat massive multiplayer online games built on subscription service like they're a dopamine loop. The
Yeah.
dopamine loop is meant to be chewed up and spat out because that's how hedonic markers work. You can't eat the same thing every day and expect to get the same pleasure out of it that you did the first time. It doesn't work. Otherwise, we'd all still be playing Doom 1. Doom 2 never would have been released because crap, I'm forgetting his name now. The head honcho of id Software back in the day, John Romero. He wouldn't have bothered developing Doom 2 because he would still be playing Doom multiplayer deathmatch with the rest of the people that picked it up in 1990 whatever. There would be no point in innovating. Yeah, we have to keep developing new single player experiences because that's servicing hedonic markers. Basically, you buy product, you chew up product, you get bored of it, you spit it out, and you get something that's got more flavor. These subscription-based games only live long term because of the serotonin or the social aspect of it. Even it's still going after 2 decades, not because it's a very particularly well built game. It's a fucking spreadsheet simulator with a tiny little picture of a spaceship in the middle. They've marginally improved that over the course of 2 decades, but just barely. It's about the fact that you can find yourself at a moment's notice in charge of 3,000 people. They're all waiting on your word. You say, lock this target here, fire. And you see 3,000 people all do exactly as you say, and that ship immediately turned to a gas cloud. That's a serotonin experience. You go, I'm a general now. I'm actually commanding people in charge of military hardware.
Yeah.
You can't get that a single player experience unless you're going down like the XCOM kind of a route. But then that goes back into that's not about serotonin anymore because those beings aren't alive.
Yeah.
There's no one person starts panicking over comms and going, I'm getting shot at. Like, bro, you're not a logistics. Of course you're getting shot at. Like, just shut up and deal with it. You get that in a single player experience. And when you do, it's really contrived and shitty and ruins it.
Yeah.
I think like to roll it up in a neat little ball. Arrowhead fucked up. Sony mega fucked up. And like, stop fucking with the players, man. We're the bread and butter of this industry. Like, if you release the game to you into a planet and just drop the fucking video game there, who's going to play it? Nobody. Like, it's silly to think that you can keep pulling the wool over our eyes and expecting us to eat it up. It's stupid. Stop doing it.
Yeah.
Corporate industries are going to fail miserably to indie gamers because it's just they follow a more natural law, I would say, of what's going on and the big picture of it all.
Yeah, I agree. And it's
the further we get from, maybe this isn't the perfect model, but it's the first one that comes to mind. The further away that we get from Notch's development model, the creator of Minecraft, the more the player base is going to be pushed away from AAA developers and into indie titles.
Yeah.
Sony, if you want to keep making money, you have to stop us from going looking at the small guys. There's no two ways about it. You keep fucking people off and making it harder and harder to want to be interested in your game instead of the Notch model, which is here's basically a blank engine that's really easy to mod. Go your hardest. Go have fun with it for decades if you wish.
Yeah.
You'll go find
and people are still playing it. We're still playing it.
Yeah, we're playing it now. Even after Microsoft took it over.
Yeah, we won't talk about that one yet.
when they screw up as massively as Sony's done recently, we'll be back on the couch talking about that.
Yeah. And that's probably a good point to close it out. But we've dumped on Sony. We've dumped on Arrowhead. Huge shithead decision there. But yeah, if if you've got any comments on it, drop them in the comment section down below. Let us know. Hell, if you see us sitting around on 76 or maybe in some other games that you'll see us around, come and say hello, weigh in. But, yeah, thanks for joining me, guys.
You find us on the couch, all you got to do is come sit down. We'll throw you some details so you can join the interview.
Woo! Until next time, guys. Peace.
Rock on.
Ciao.
Balls hanging low while I pop a bottle off of your chain swinging, clang clang, and it costs a lot.